host, Kevin Berrier, and welcome to 5 Dubs Marketing Pros, where we highlight awesome brands and the stories behind them, and maybe just maybe geek out on all things marketing. All right, friends, let's get started. So today we're switching it up a bit to focus on something truly inspiring that impacts not just the business world, but I would argue society as a whole. And I have an amazing guest from an awesome organization to chat about it. So what are we diving into today? We're going to dive into the incredible efforts to amplify and accelerate the accomplishments of professional women. We'll be discussing who they are, their mission, their empowering newsletter, Accelerate Women, and their upcoming Women of Excellence event featuring a juggernaut of a keynote speaker. So today I introduce a top-tier leader in this arena, Sarah Mogol, chair of the board for Executive Alliance. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, good morning, Kevin.
All right. Yeah, thanks for taking the time. So Executive Alliance is this just amazing organization that does so many great things, but I want everyone who may be listening that doesn't know about the Executive Alliance to hear from you about who the Executive Alliance is and what the Executive Alliance's mission is. So talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, no, I'm a thrilled member and now happy to be the board chair for this phenomenal organization. We are comprised of, we're membership based, and we are comprised of a lot of top women in Maryland in terms of in their industries, different sectors, whether we go from corporate, banking, attorneys, we've had lawmakers, entrepreneurs, and we're really focused on making sure that we are bringing the greatest strength and education to women in Maryland, and hopefully helping everybody expand their reach. We have been instrumental in our work in terms of working on issues that affect women in the workplace, which of course then affects everybody. And we've been around for we're in our 31st year, which is super exciting. And I feel like we've been an organization that is very intentional in terms of our membership and what and who we are in the larger community.
Perfect. Sorry about that. I was on mute. No, that's awesome. So you mentioned that you're intentional with your membership, but as I see all of the different things that Executive Alliance is doing, it would seem to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, it would seem to me that there's a place in one way, shape, or form for professional women at any level of their position. Talk to me a little bit about how Executive Alliance structures it in that way, because I think it's beautifully simple, and it's different than what you'll typically see other organizations of this style of capacity have. Talk to me a little bit about how you've structured that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that's the perfect take on it. That's how I feel. I always say we're really about the network, not the networking. And that is often what makes us, I think, sets us apart from other organizations, is that whereas our membership is small, our outreach and who we try to bring in and provide education and opportunities for spans well beyond our membership. And we want to make sure that we are a resource for people at every level of their career, and sharing our knowledge and our ability to be advocate, as I've said before, like the advocacy. We provide mentoring programs. We have ongoing education programs that are open to the public, and we do that throughout the year. And I just think it really helps build the mission of what we believe in, which is we're education, advocacy, and mentorship. And our programs, we have 3 benchmark programs that are part of our mission. And that is our honor roll. We have our Women of Excellence, and then we have our ongoing mentoring program. And we now have this mentoring in the room that we do. And it has really provided an amazing opportunity for the larger community to get to know us, and for us to actually get to know the larger community as well.
That's awesome. And I love I've always, I've had a lot of amazing mentors throughout my career. I think mentoring is so important for career-minded individuals that want to genuinely grow in their career and are passionate about it. So when I saw that Executive Alliance has a mentor program, I wanted to learn a bit more about that. But I'd love for you to speak to the future leaders that may be listening in on this. Talk to me a little bit about that mentorship program. What is it? How does it work? You know, what would those that are taking advantage of the mentor program perhaps going to gain out of it?
Yeah, so it's for in our mentoring program. It is for women in mid-level of their career, and this is a very specific select program. It's usually between 10 and maybe 14 young women professionals, and they are paired with they're all of our members. And there is a really wonderful program that is designed by our other members who lead the mentoring program. And they meet for once a month for about a half a day. And they focus on, knowing basically it was like the brand development, how do you position yourself, things that are going to come up in the workplace, how to look at your future, how to advocate for yourself, how to negotiate. There's a whole plate of different offerings that happen throughout the year.
That's incredible, and that all of that information is not easily available. You would think that, or a lot of business professionals, they'll go on social media and they'll see reels, and there are a million different quote experts that are giving you a million different pieces of advice on just even like how to network, right? And how can you really distill that down? But it sounds like with Executive Alliance, you're bringing tenured and senior members within your organization to be the mentors, right? It's because it seems like for me, Executive Alliance it's a very tight knit community. Like everything in terms of the network is kind of housed in. It's housed. It's probably not the best word. Locally, essentially, right? It's like everything you need is here because Baltimore and the areas surrounding are such an amazing market and hub there. One thing I've really enjoyed seeing from Executive Alliance is how you are getting the word out and the community outreach, because if people don't know who you are, they don't know why you're important. And one of the things that I've seen that I really enjoy receiving every month is a newsletter that the Executive Alliance sends out called Accelerate Women. And what I really like about it is the structure of it. It has a great flow. It's a great read. But tell me a little bit about the Accelerate Women newsletter. What is it? Why does it matter? Why should you get it? Talk to me a little bit about that.
What's terrific about the Accelerate Women is that, first of all, it also speaks exactly to our tagline for Executive Alliance, which is our mission to be a catalyst for women in Maryland. And so having the Accelerate Women newsletter, it's different in that it is from Executive Alliance, but it is not just about our members. It is not just a typical membership organization. We are actually providing real information, resources beyond our own membership, and we are highlighting women who are not necessarily members and what they're doing to really show like the strength and development and the success of women in Maryland at all sorts of levels. In particular, more in executive directors or director or leadership roles, but and also bringing together opportunities for people to hear about other events from other organizations and other events and information that really highlights the achievements of women.
And I love that because this newsletter, both from a marketing perspective, so the marketing geek in me will look at this and see a few different things. I see how the Accelerate Women newsletter is broken up into a few sections, making connections, championing women, educating your network, and then the accelerating women leaders. And it really breaks down all of the valuable information in a really easily digestible way and a way to find it. And I also enjoy the fact that you are creating content, but also curating content. Right. It's truly a resource. Honestly, it's pulling from the outside in. It's educating. It's empowering the readers and or the recipients, I should say. And from what I understand, Executive Alliance does a pretty big, for lack of a better term, a prospecting push. It's community outreach. Let's get out to those that aren't aware of who Executive Alliance is. And from what I understand, I mean, it is very, very well received. Talk to me a little bit about that.
And that's what's so cool about it is that what's also interesting, because as you mentioned, we pull from so many other places. It's not just one voice. It's organized through lens. But in terms of what the kind of input and information coming in, it's not just coming from one writer from the organization putting it in. So in that, it is interesting, and it, like, even if one part may not hit somebody's interest level, there's bound to be something else. And frankly, our open rate is, it's really resonating, because our open rate is anywhere between 40 to 50% every month that we do this, which, as most people know, when you are sending out, even if everybody is signed up directly, that's an extraordinarily high and successful open rate, which really means it's resonating, and it's giving people the way that, the information they want in a way that they want it. And I think it's just become a really exciting element of how we push ourselves out to the community.
Yeah, those are huge open rates. Those are massive open rates. I mean, industry standard open rates are maybe 30%. And that's high, especially like post-COVID email marketing era, when unsubscribes went through the roof, because that was really the only way to market. Yeah. Getting 40, 50+% open rates that's gold. That gives me goosebumps. So congratulations on that. That's incredible.
And the list keeps building organically. People are sharing it, and those people are signing up to receive it themselves. And so we're really proud of where what it's become and where it's going to go. So yeah, we're really excited about it.
It's all about the network, not the networking. I'm going to steal that, by the way. That was a
You're
great.
welcome to
that's
use
a great
it.
sound. I'm going. I am going to, in a true marketer's capacity, I'm going to use and abuse that. So thank you for that. So talk to me a little bit more about some other community outreach initiatives. You have some events that go on. We have a Keystone event that let's hold off. I want to dedicate its own portion of this podcast episode to a super awesome event, Woman of Excellence. So I'm going to make everyone wait for that. Talk to me a little bit more about some other community outreach initiatives that Executive Alliance engages in.
So in addition to what I want to talk about, which is some of the women on boards, which is one of our principal objectives with Executive Alliance, is how do we build and grow the presence of women on boards and in leadership positions. We also, through that, which is unusual, also which makes us, I think, unique, is that our Women on Boards Committee, they research and put together a census report, which actually really they go through with a fine-tooth comb every publicly traded company in Maryland, and have really seen an incredible impact in terms of just this reporting and this research in terms of how many women are now on boards in Maryland, in the C-suite, like in directors and also on the boards for these companies. I would say I think it's gone up about 26% in the past decade or so, because I think of this great work. The census report's been put together for almost this, I think, going to our 18th year that we're doing this. And it is a real grounding awareness in terms of for women about, and for companies about where they have to be to actually be representative and of what the actual world looks like, and which is a fantastic problem. But in terms of that, we highlight those companies that have a 30% reporting of women in their C-suite and on their corporate boards with our honor roll event that is every spring. We're up to about 80 companies that get recognized at this awards event, and so that's a really wonderful thing that we're doing, or that we feel is very wonderful. And I think that a lot of the companies that are participating, it's companies, it's educations, the hospital systems that are all now really in this program, which is terrific. We are also, as I mentioned before, we do a lot of workshops and education opportunities for our members, but also for the larger community. We've got our board readiness workshops. We have our in the room, wisdom in the room, monthly events that we do for our members specifically, which is a lunchtime Zoom where people come in and they sort of highlight what their focus in their careers are, what they want to share. That's been a wonderful way for everybody to get to know each other and actually learn from each other. And I would also just like to say that as we're going back into this idea, when you're ready to talk about Women of Excellence, I have a lot to say about that, because that is one of, I think, our key, that is really our key marketing piece and our fundraiser, honestly.
Sure. And before we do, I'm going to make everyone wait just a hair longer, because as I'm looking through, so you're talking about, the census report reports on businesses and organizations that have, and again, correct me, 30% or more. Yeah. So, I'm looking through your Accelerate Women newsletter, and I'm seeing the partners that are at the bottom, all of the different partners. Now, I can't necessarily say all of these partners are falling into census, into that 30 plus in census or not, but perhaps they are. But I'm looking at the diversity of businesses and organizations that are just a representation of the partnership. And I think that's worth talking about for the moment. You know, I'm seeing McCormick in Baltimore. I'm seeing Sandy Spring Bank. I'm seeing the Daily Record and the Baltimore Business Journal. Shout out. They are members of our press association. So shout out to them. PNC Bank, Girls on the Run, National Kidney Foundation. I mean, these are, it seems to me like Executive Alliance has such a bandwidth or kind of spectrum of smaller businesses to these large. I mean, McCormick is a huge company. I mean, that the power and the knowledge that comes with these juggernauts of companies, with these, you know, with juggernaut professionals that are with the executive line. I mean, it has to be huge. So talk to me a little bit about that diversity and just knowledge that brings in.
Oh, 100%, because this is not just about, I mean, the financial support is extraordinarily, it's key and helpful, but that has also brought us incredible members. These companies are represented in our organization by active members, and having their engagement, that what they share, what they bring, what they can get from this network of women and other organizations, I think is a real strength builder. And I think it has been really helpful in a lot of the advocacy work that we've been doing, that we can show that we have these partners. And that, like, for example, several years ago, we worked on the gender reporting for the boards, as we've now been talking about. This past year, we worked really hard in hand with the legislature on working on the Wage Transparency Act here in Maryland, which was a really big deal in terms of opening up the opportunities for people to be able to advocate for themselves in the workplace at every single level. So that's another way that this is not just about C-suite. This has incredible impact on anybody who goes in to work, to apply for a job in the state of Maryland at any level, from hourly to annually salaried. It has made a huge impact.
It's truly mission-based, right? I mean, Executive Alliance is all about achieving so many missions. I mean, who can really say that the efforts of an organization has a 26% lift? I would love to see a 26% in the positive on a lot of things that a lot of organizations are trying to push forward in the United States. So congratulations to the Executive Alliance on that. That's incredible. And I first began really understanding about the diversity of just the bandwidth of businesses and organizations that are in the Executive Alliance through last year's Women of Excellence event. I was invited to attend. It was an incredible event. I'm going to share last year, the keynote speaker was Pinky Cole, and she was absolutely incredible. Pinky Cole is a Baltimore native who founded the restaurant Slutty Vegan, and is just absolutely killing it in the world, and has published a book. And so I'm a girl dad. My daughter is 9. She was 8 at the time. And Pinky Cole, and she was pregnant at the time, and she was there signing every book, every single book. And I stood in line and I waited, and I told the story. I purchased the book for my daughter. She's too young to read it now, but when she's ready, it's sitting on her bookshelf. And Pinky put such a sweet message in for my daughter on that. And it just, like that, it's those little moments that, like, if I could experience that moment at the first event that I've ever gone to for the Executive Alliance, I mean, that really speaks volumes to how amazing these events are. So I want to talk now about the Women of Excellence event, because that's such a huge event for you all. From what I understand, you have a pretty awesome keynote speaker this year as well, but I want to give you the honors, please, of sharing that. So talk a little bit first about, tease this up, right? Let's get the marketing ready. So talk about the Women of Excellence event, what it is, why it matters, and then talk about who's going to be keynoting this year.
Yeah, so Women of Excellence has been an event that has been, other than COVID, it is an event that we've held every year. And it is really, I would say, like one of the best events in Maryland. It really is. It is, we usually have between like 600 to 800 I will say women, and also we have some phenomenal men.
There were I felt so at home. I mean, everyone was so was so nice. Yeah, a few men there, and
Yeah.
but everyone it was for everyone. Honestly, I mean, I got so much out of it.
Oh, totally. I mean, look, and it's also like you walk into that room, it's huge, right? And
It's
you see it is
massive.
filled and everybody's excited to be there. I mean, really, it is one of the most, it has such a great feeling every year. And honestly, that's how I learned about the organization. I was invited, I want to say 10 years ago, and I was like, what is this? I hadn't heard of the organization and I had no idea about the reach and the impact that it could bring in. And I want to say that I'm trying to remember who the speaker was, but it was, we've had over the years some incredibly high profile women speakers. We've had, Madeleine Albright, we've had Gina Davis, Valerie Jarrett was right before COVID. And then we've had a lot of other women who maybe you wouldn't know their names, but you know their work and the impact that they've had at different major companies. So we were really excited to celebrate last year with for our 30th anniversary with Pinky Cole, and this year we are also incredibly excited because we really have a real unique speaker in Catie Griggs, who is the incoming and brand new president of business operations for the Orioles, and we are thrilled to have a Maryland, institution bringing us this fabulous. Their newest president to the organization, and I think it's going to be a really exciting event. I think it's going to be terrific to hear from her and have everybody in the community get to hear about this kind of leadership and this new vision with the Orioles. This is a great time.
That's huge. And the Baltimore Orioles, massive brand. Go O's, right? Let's go O's, hun.
Some people have heard of it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, a few people have heard of it. And the Baltimore Orioles are doing such great things in the community holistically and making a lot of moves and steps forward. And Catie Griggs, I think, is going to be such an awesome keynote speaker. I'm looking forward to hopefully getting that invite. Shout out Rebecca. Give me a ticket because I would love. Yeah, I think I know somebody, but I would love to see Catie Griggs because I think the best leader. So you mentioned, and I think this is really important to share, is that over the course of time you've had a lot of high profile leaders, and you've had some leaders that you may not know their name, but you know their work. And for me, I think some of the best leaders on the planet are those that you don't know their name, but you know the work and the impact that they bring. And like Catie Griggs, I mean, the name is known. She's been all over the MLB circuit, and now coming to our home to the Baltimore Orioles is massive. Like, this is absolutely massive. Shout out to the Baltimore Orioles. Thank you for freeing up Ms. Griggs to come speak at the event. That is so incredible.
And what's so cool is this is going to be one of the first public events she's doing as she's coming into Baltimore. But also, I will also just give to the Orioles, also thanking them for making her available, but also that organization also has over 30% women in their leadership in their C-suite, which is really another accomplishment, I believe.
Let's go O's. That's awesome.
Support the O's, right?
That's awesome. We're going to tag you on social media as we promote this episode. So listen in so you can hear all the accolades we give. Congrats to the O's on that. That's it. That's incredible. Yeah. And now, and the Women of Excellence event, is always like the keynote speaker is always the grand finale of the event. But throughout the event itself, there's a lot of beyond networking and meeting people you may not have met before. And it was interesting last year when I went to the event, I'm seeing so many people shaking hands with each other. You could tell they're meeting for the first time. Yes. There was so much connection in this huge space with so many. It's like people as far as the eyes could see. It was incredible. And seeing the networking going on. Talk to me a little bit about now the Women of Excellence event. It sounds like you're probably still getting things put together and creating the agenda for the event. But talk to me about some other things that those that are interested in going to the event could consider, because registration's open now, right? Registration's
just opened, and you go onto we're going to put the link in the show notes, I would
Yep,
imagine.
yep. We'll make sure we have the link in the show notes. But actually, real quick shout out while we're at it. So, Executive Alliance's website, executivealliance.org, very easy to get to. Go there, peruse it, register for the event. And Sarah, what will those who register the event? What else are they going to expect?
Well, I will say, to sort of, dovetail into what you've said, Kevin, like when you walk in, it's one of the biggest rooms you're going to be in, and yet it feels intimate at the same time, right? It is really warm. We keep it very open. There is an openness to getting to meet and hear about what other people are doing. And it's not formal, but everyone's usually coming from work, and it is a really lovely event. And you will see women from all over Maryland in leadership. You will see a lot of faces that look very familiar, but maybe you haven't seen before, like you haven't gotten to have a chance to sit and say hello to them before. And we also make sure that our members are really part of our host team as well. So we'll have, we have over 100 members, and they're part of this event as much as anybody else is, in terms of making sure that they're having their guests and people that they feel should know each other meet other people. So it's really just a terrific time to get to meet people. Now, we have also, last year we started this Women's Village, which was allowing small business, women-owned businesses to come and sort of highlight what it is that they're doing. We've got a couple of other surprises this year that I'm just going to have to welcome you to come and see for yourself what they are, because I'm not going to share them now, but we've got some really lovely new things in the works for this year.
I'm on the edge of my seat. That perfect way to tease that. Now I know I have to go.
Sorry, you just have to come.
Good thing I know a few people. That's awesome. So that's incredible. So Executive Alliance, I have been following this brand for a minute now, and I absolutely adore it. The work that the Executive Alliance does, and all of those that are putting in all of this time and effort and energy and love and passion into the mission that Executive Alliance has it's rare to see, and it's rare to me to see a brand that seems to always face its North Star. Right? Your mission is the mission, and you never veer from it. And, I've seen brands across the world that, speak a grandiose picture and then they don't execute. And for the Executive Alliance, I mean, it is just success after success after success. I mean, what's the secret, do you think, for the Executive Alliance in terms of how you're propelling your success so sharply? What's the secret? Is there a secret sauce there that you can share, or what would you tell young professionals, that want to get that secret?
Wow, this is huge question, and I'm going to circle right back to it with that idea of the laser eye focus. But what I have not mentioned with Women of Excellence is that it's November 13th and Martin's West.
Yes.
From 4:30 to 7:30. I missed that big opportunity.
Yes.
So now, let me go back to that extraordinarily beautiful and thoughtful question you just asked. So I would say one of the, as you're saying, like at the North Star, we have our pillars, right? As I mentioned before, it's the advocacy, it's the education, it's the mentorship. Everything that we do is where we really try to build and strengthen and grow how we're moving forward, keeping those things front and center to making sure, if not all, at least one of the ideas, because we're very idea heavy. Like we've got lots of ideas, and we always have to keep in very much focus, like how, right? Because again, we are membership driven. We're all volunteer in our time. We all are, we pay membership dues, but all of us who are doing the work, other than our wonderful executive director, everybody else is like, because we love it. And our executive director loves it too. I have no doubt about that.
Absolutely. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I mean, we're well helmed by Rebecca Snyder. I would say that we really try to make sure that we are only moving forward by keep reinforcing each stitch that we take in strengthening this fabric, making sure that we keep circling back into at least one of those three tenets or pillars. And so keeping that in focus, and we have a lot of our committee members are also really focused on making sure that each area has a full committee that works really hard and intentionally to making sure that we are really moving forward in the future in a way that answers who we've stated that we are and who we want to be, but also how are we going to be relevant and making sure that we are really being impactful going forward. And I think that we've been at this space right now at that 30-year mark, which is who we've been. And I will say we were started back in, it's been 30 years. So what, like 1983? I mean, we're talking the working girl era, right? So these women who came together, who I always like to say, they were the first ones trying to climb up the ladder, holding that hammer to take those cracks at the glass ceiling. They did this work to try to make sure that there was a strength and room for women to keep progressing and being the powerhouses that they've always been, but weren't necessarily. They've had to work really hard to achieve that platform and recognition. And so I would say that that's been where we started. And I will also say with that, the organization used to be called Network 2000. It got rebranded to be relevant and to answer the women where they are. And that is the way that we move forward in terms of our branding, in terms of how I would advise anybody to kind of look at how they're doing things in their own life and in their own professions, is you got to look. I definitely believe that you got to look at where you came from and you look at some of those guiding principles, but you got to make sure that you're keeping your sight line to keep reinforcing the place where you really want to go and how you're going to go there. And that for Executive Alliance is making sure that we're being inclusive and that we are building like real strength and education and opportunities for women to keep empowering themselves and each other. That's, I guess, how I would answer that question.
I love it. I love it. So a few things I pull out of that that really, I think, resonate with me. That's such an amazing answer. And shout out to the founding members on creating such a solid foundation.
And then we have Women of Excellence also. You can catch glimpses of.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. So it sounds like
a lot of them are still that they'll still show up. They may not be members or at different parts of their career, but they are still engaged.
It's ingrained, right? It's in their blood, right? And one thing I heard out of that is the how is as important as the what, right? It's not only the what do you want to do, it's how are you going to do it. Be focused in understanding how you're going to get there. Understand perception, right? Network 2000 to Executive Alliance, kind of, staying with the times, right? And all of that, amongst many other things, will help you propel forward. And if you want to dive even deeper into that, check out Executive Alliance's mentoring program or Executive Alliance as a whole. If you are not a member of the Executive Alliance, I think you need to get to executivealliance.org right now and apply for membership, because it is the who's who of professional women in Baltimore and the areas surrounding. The Executive Alliance is doing such great things. Again, shout out to Rebecca Snyder, the executive director. She is awesome. She's doing amazing things. And shout out to everyone who's putting their time in to make such an amazing event. So as we wrap up here, one question I usually always ask is what is an obstacle that you have experienced that has taught you like a good professional lesson? What's something you wish you could have done differently in retrospect?
So actually, it's kind of a generalized thing.
Sure.
And actually something I think I first really saw and learned that it was okay to feel this at one of my first board meetings for Executive Alliance, when I was a board member as a programming committee chair. And it was one of the icebreakers, and I went around the room and I realized it was basically, what is something that you wish you had learned sooner or had done differently in your life? And in some form, shape, or another, almost everybody, and these are women who at once thought in my life, I would have thought, my God, these are women who've never even stumbled on their path. Like, they're just, I just admire them and their accomplishments and who they are so much. And in some way or another, almost everybody said something along the same thing, which is, I stayed too long in something that wasn't working. I should have advocated that when I saw that this, or, I understood that this wasn't for me or it wasn't going to move forward, I moved. And it's interesting. And basically what you're talking about is everybody having some sort of doubt about what it is that they're doing and how they're doing it. And are you really, like, what is the thing that can really propel you forward? And sometimes your idea about that thing gets in the way of what you're actually like what you're experiencing. And I have to say that is something I always would say. There's something like when you get a little challenged, that's when you should be leaning in a lot of ways. But it also means don't doubt yourself if you feel like it's not the right thing.
That's a great answer. So gut check.
Very long-winded answer.
No, that's great. No, it's perfect. I mean, it's great to hear the story behind how that kind of came to be in your mind. I think that's a great message. And in fact,
I'm good at it all the time, but it is something I try.
Sure. Yeah. It's professionals have to continue to practice the art of being a career professional. And I think that's such a great message. You should write a book, right? Pinky Cole's is I Hope You Fail. I think yours is Lean In. I think yours should be called Lean In.
Wasn't there a book already about that?
Maybe, I don't know, but
I believe something rather well known.
We'll probably get cease and desists now.
Yeah, I was going to say be careful with that one. But, no, but I think that there's just I think that that's also part of it. Like when you have people who you really do admire and, but they are human and they are people and they have the same they go through the same sort of imposter syndrome. They go through the same doubts. They go through the same moments where they think, wow, they've really hit something. And then they're like, you start second guessing. I think this is a part of the human nature to some extent. And you got to either figure out, are you going to let it wash over? Or are you going to let it actually build you up at the same time? Are you going to take the awareness and just help you build your muscle? I think those are the decisions in that part of the how.
That's perfect. That is awesome. You all are doing so many great things. And I want to re-emphasize a few things. executivealliance.org. Sign up for the Accelerate Women newsletter. It is super easy to do on their website. And if you have not registered yet for the Women of Excellence event on November 13th at Martin's West, it's 4:30 to 7:30 p.m. Brings together over 600 top women leaders and their supporters in a mix and mingle cocktail party, heavy appetizers, inspiring conversation, and a keynote speaker, Catie Griggs, president of business operations at the Baltimore Orioles. Awesome. Michelle Siri, also of the Maryland Legal Services Corporation, will be the interviewer for Catie Griggs. So that should be a fun one. Is there anything else I'm missing? I'd follow them on social.
Much.
Give every women professional high fives. Let's continue to help move Executive Alliance forward and all of the great work that they do. Sarah, what am I missing?
I think the thing that a lot of us already know, your own success does not negate somebody else's ability to be successful. It does not lessen, it only helps, right? You just helping be supportive of other people. In our case, we're really making sure we're women focused, of course.
Sure.
But that is building strength is one of the greatest things that we can do, not just professionally, but as people, 100%. And I think that we're really fortunate in Maryland that we've got such an extraordinary network of women who are committed to this. And I'm really proud to be part of this organization.
I believe the best network out there for professional women. So get in there, understand what Executive Alliance does, become a member, engage with it, use it to your advantage to help propel yourself. Sarah Mogol, this has been awesome. I really appreciate you taking the time. I know time's few and far between. You're a very busy woman, and thank you for taking it. And
my pleasure.
Yeah, and November 13th, Women of Excellence, go register. And that will do it for this episode. For everyone listening, thank you so much for listening to this episode. And follow, subscribe, love, engage with our social, Executive Alliance social, all of our good socials. And until next time, see ya. Five Dubs Marketing Pros is hosted by me, Kevin Berrier. Our executive producer is MDDC Executive Director Rebecca Snyder. Post-production by Caroline Pecora. Our theme music is by Azulu Studio. A special thank you to our guests for being with us. You can find 5 Dubs and 5 Dubs Marketing Pros on Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts.